The alternative is that in 30 days, everyone knows who you are. Your personal brand skyrockets. You've been seen by all of your ideal customer people that you want to do business with. You know how to sell on LinkedIn, and you're booking meetings and you're actually closing deals. Like, I've had people take it who've now gotten hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of deals from LinkedIn.
Hi, Dana Giorgio, Chief Retail Sales Officer for SurePath Lending. And today I have a really awesome guest on the show, Dan Smokoska. Well, good morning,
Hey,
my friend from LinkedIn. I am super excited to have you in the SurePath Lending office today. For those of you who may not know, this is Dan Smokoska. Did I do it?
you did it.
Good.
You nailed it.
I love it.
You nailed it.
People go with mine, that last name, all the time, like Giorgio. They try to like French it up and make it perfumey. It's not that. It's just plain old Giorgio.
Yeah.
Right. So thanks for coming and spend a little time.
Awesome to be here.
Good. Let's talk about some things, because you've had some cool stuff happening over the last, 30, 60 days. Housing Wire.
Yeah.
Yeah. So talk to me about, listen, I'm a huge fan of Housing Wire. Been to their events, love the format of the events, recommend the events. So it's cool to see you over there doing some stuff with them. So
Yeah, they obviously are an incredible company. And, it's one of those, I use the example a lot of times. It's like, I've known those guys for a while, right? If we're in the industry, we know Housing Wire. But whenever, you're kind of driving down the road, you see a car, you're like, man, that looks like a nice car, but you really don't know until you're the one driving it, you're getting under the hood. Right.
Yeah.
And so it's been nice to be able to get into the company and to keep the analogy going, to pop up the hood and see how everything works and see if it's as good as I thought it was. And it's incredible. The people are awesome. Leadership is incredible. Clayton and Diego, just great guys. People, great mission, just a commitment to bringing the best, possible housing news for the entire industry. Yeah. And so it's been fun getting to be part of what Housing Wire is doing. And like you said, events are a big thing for us. And so we got the Housing Wire Economic Summit coming up in February. And then we have the Gathering.
And that's here in Dallas.
It's in Dallas.
Right, yeah.
Yep. And then we have our really big event, which is the Gathering.
Yeah. And
that one's going to be in Colorado this year, and that one's in June. So we're pumped and we're full steam ahead, and
I love it.
Doing some cool stuff.
I love it. Well, Housing Wire has really made some dynamic strides, I think, in delivering really timely news out into the market. So what are you doing with them specifically?
Yeah, so I'm not doing news, thankfully. I love
no anchorman thing happening. All right, I got it.
Not me, but so I'm working with helping mortgage companies or mortgage industry companies, be able to get in front of the Housing Wire audience. So sales growth type stuff for Housing Wire, and so you got to think of it this way: like the really awesome thing about Housing Wire is that over the years, we've built probably the most extensive, powerful list of, eyeballs, right?
Sure, yeah.
And so as a result of creating, like you said, timely, really informational, great news that's trusted and read by a lot of people, you get that audience of key executives and, high producing loan officers and real estate agents and all of these things. And so that audience is extremely valuable, and it's hard to get all of those people in one room. And with Housing Wire, you do, right? So that's, if a company wants to aggressively, let's say a mortgage company wants to aggressively get into,
I don't know, i.e. SurePath Lending.
Right. It wants to aggressively try to, get loan officers on board, and do recruiting efforts. Like Housing Wire is a great opportunity, right? We have a loan officer newsletter that you can really, dive into and sponsor and get your brand there. Okay. And for if there's mortgage, tech companies, there's a lot of tech companies out there that want the mortgage space and get those decision makers, and that's our audience, right? So
nice.
It's just a great place to be. And I'm a content guy.
Yeah.
And so being able to have a company that has as much reach and opportunity as Housing Wire does is just fun.
Yeah, I would say that you're probably having a really good time right now.
Yeah, it's a blast.
So that's a really good lead in, right, from a content perspective, because I want to talk about your cohort. I want to talk about, the things that you've done that has advanced not only your personal brand, which may have won you the opportunity at Housing Wire. You tell me, right? Did that branding have anything, to do with that?
Yep.
And then, maybe a couple of ideas of, how people utilize, whether it's IG or Facebook or LinkedIn specifically, because I know both you and I are very active on that particular platform. And then we're going to talk about, because you represented today, and Greg has got to be pretty excited when he sees you in the All of Us campaign. So tell me where you want to start with that.
Yeah. So, as far as social media opportunities go, and kind of what that journey has looked like for me, I have, I'm not coming from this from some kind of student teacher kind of, let me go read books in a library and try to tell people what somebody else experienced and knows. So, what happened for me was 2022 happened for me.
Okay.
Right.
22 happened a lot.
It happened to a lot of people. And when 2022 for the mortgage industry happened, I was running, I was an executive of a mortgage company running their marketing. Everyone felt the impact of that year and the just drastic switch of the market. And so for me, it started off as LinkedIn. I wasn't a social media guy. I all my accounts were private.
Okay.
I could care less about getting on there because I didn't want the social aspect of it. And so what happened was I was very strategic in the market is shifting. Storms are coming. I need to have an insurance policy.
Yeah.
Right. And so I really decided and build a personal brand so that if I lose a job, if my company sells, which it wound up selling, I will be positioned better than I would if I didn't do that.
Yes.
And so that was sort of the catalyst for me to get really into LinkedIn. And I moved from LinkedIn, starting to just kind of, jump in and see what it's all about to absolutely being a fanatic of the platform because of all the doors that it opened and the opportunities I was getting.
I can't believe you're not getting some type of revenue from LinkedIn at this point, honestly, because you have promoted them as a platform so beautifully and candidly and honestly that it's opened up that platform to so many people that I don't think really knew what it could do for them personally and or, corporately. Right.
So what I really have had fun seeing is the mortgage industry getting excited about LinkedIn. And a lot of that's done from the efforts of Brian View, Greg Scher, and honestly myself, just really kind of spreading that message over the last 2 or 3 years. And in others, absolutely. But just we've all seen the power of what this can do. And for Greg and Brian and I are all, good buddies now. And that's because of LinkedIn. You and I are friends and doing this today because of LinkedIn. You mentioned that earlier when we were talking before we jumped on. It's just an incredible platform. And so my switch was I am seeing the value and the opportunities that this platform is bringing. Now, I see this platform not as a social media platform, but as a sales platform.
Yeah. I agree 100%.
So when that switch happened and I started seeing the amount of deals and business and revenue that not just me, but mortgage companies, executives who are trying to recruit, loan officers who are trying to build referral partner relationships.
Yes.
Once I started working with those people to do the same things I was doing.
Yeah.
And I'm just iterating. I'm just trying things that don't that work, that flop. And so I'm just testing it all, so that other people don't have to, right? And so it's a lot of experience behind it, and then it works for everyone else. And so that's been the fun part, is seeing the results on that, which is ultimately why I started the cohort and have the newsletter that tries to help people. I'm on a mission to like help people sell better, easier, build their brands, people want to work with people, not a company.
Yeah. And people that they like and trust too, right? I mean, I think that's a key component of it. And so that platform has created a way for people to really see you as who you are, become engaged in a relationship to get that like and trust. So I love that. I absolutely do. So you mentioned your cohort. I don't want to dismiss that, right? Because one, I've not personally been able to participate yet, but it's like Tuesday, I need to block out, what those were. I wanted to do January, but it just didn't work out for my schedule, unfortunately. But everybody that I have talked to that's been participating or is currently participating, right, just raves about the information that's coming out of it. I know you also share a lot of that already on LinkedIn. And so, what's the compelling really piece to go, yep, I'm going to put my money right here for this month and, block out these evenings, because I think you do it on evenings most of the time, right? And the value prop that's there, because I know it, but I want people to hear really what it is.
Yeah. So it's a 1 month deal. There's no subscription. It's basically a boot camp for 4 weeks.
Okay.
It's in the evenings because the mortgage industry is insane and nobody can do an hour plus call because loans are, blowing up and fires are starting and all that. So that's why we do it in the evening. And that's worked out really, really well.
Great.
We do like an hour, 15 minutes. So just like, me driving the platform. Like I don't have like an actual PowerPoint deck. Like I show you on LinkedIn, share my screen, how I do it. So we're on a Zoom call, right? And we have a structured like session 1, session 2, session 3, session 4. But like within that, it's like questions can be asked, and I will, somebody wants to like have their profile reviewed and get on the hot seat. I'll do that live so everybody else can see it, right? Like
nice.
It's things like that really, really help people get an idea to how to do it, what we're talking about. Because what I noticed was when I would do a webinar, loan officers would get really, really excited about LinkedIn and the opportunity that it had for their business. But then there was nothing after that to really help them move forward.
Yeah.
And so the cohort came from the idea that like, I know there's interest. I know there's excitement. I know that people want to be doing it. I know that their life would be significantly better if they could sell this way. So that's where the cohort came in. And that has absolutely just been like this incredible, just results left and right. So right now, as we're recording this, it's $500 to get in.
Okay.
All right. Just for the month. So if you think about it, that $500 is like, let's just say, that's a bet you're making on something working. You lose your $500 if nothing happens. And, you might be like, oh, bummed out that I lost $500, but it's not going to ruin me. Right.
Yep.
The alternative is that in 30 days, everyone knows who you are. Your personal brand skyrockets. You've been seen by all of your ideal customer people that you want to do business with. You know how to sell on LinkedIn, and you're booking meetings and you're actually closing deals.
Yeah.
So like, that's what I'm seeing. The people who put the work in it are actually, I've had people take it who've now gotten hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of deals from LinkedIn by booking calls, getting contracts out. In fact, I had one that was just like the coolest kind of review from the cohort was a guy who just absolutely crushed it on LinkedIn, did everything. He was like, I'm going to do what you say. I'm going to follow the system. And he did, he went all in, and he wound up in DMs with an owner of a mortgage company.
Okay.
And he does some recruiting stuff. But he as they're talking, the owner of the mortgage company said, man, Dan's cohort really works. I didn't know you existed 30 days ago. And now like you're everywhere.
Wow.
Yeah, got the contract, got the deal. It was incredible.
That's
so we're
got to be
hearing stories
so
like this all the time.
satisfying.
It's great.
Right?
It's
Yeah.
great. It's a proven system at this point. Like, it's just
I
fun.
love when that, like, listen, you're not getting rich on $500 cohorts, right? Like, let's just be honest about that. So the part of it that is really, warming and makes you want to continue to do it is you really are helping people do something that they couldn't really have done. They might have been able to do it on their own. It just would have taken them so much. Me, for example, right?
Yeah.
Like, I probably should have taken your cohort like 18 months ago when I started this process, but I didn't know you then. Right. What you have done has put your brand then out in front of me and so many others, right, to allow us this opportunity to be able to do that. So I'm super excited. Mark it down right now. I want a spot for February.
Love it.
So you've got my $500. You tell me when that is, and I will definitely plan around.
Love it.
That. So
exciting.
Yeah, that's really exciting. All of us.
Yeah. So if you've been on LinkedIn for any period of time, you and some other platforms as well, you've probably seen the All of Us brand at this point. More of a movement that started from Greg's
that's
share.
Accurate. Yeah, yeah. I have my T-shirt. I should have thought to wear it today.
Yeah. So Greg shared doing some really cool stuff with the All of Us movement. Really, kind of like the ideas that like let's lose the broker versus retail versus
correspondent versus anything.
All the stuff, right?
Just mortgage.
So I'm a big fan of our industry. I've been in the business for 14 years. I've stayed in the midst of the bad and had fun during the good times. But I'm a mortgage guy, and anything that is focused on like bringing us more together, and providing value for everyone, I'm all for it. Yeah. And so I love Greg. We're buddies. LinkedIn is kind of our like stage where we kind of met, and then we got to hang out at conferences. And so he's a good dude. Love him and love what he's built. And like, I have probably, I'm not kidding, 6 shirts now.
Oh, that's not fair. I'm gonna have
blue,
to like
a black, and then I got some long sleeve hoodie ones, with the new ones.
No, listen. I'm a swag hoarder, so I'm gonna have to.
Me too.
I'm gonna have to get on that bandwagon. Well, a funny story about Greg. And the first time that I actually met him was at a Housing Wire event last year, the IMB Summit that was here in Dallas, and I was total fangirling. So I'm sitting in the audience, and there's a presenter that's out there, and Greg is sitting with Brian, and they're like right next to each other, and I'm like kind of like doing this number to kind of get a better look, and I pull out my camera and seeing if I could like get a shot of them. I'm like, you're just ridiculous. Just at the next break, just go up. Yeah. And I don't probably strike you as a shy type of person. Right. But for whatever reason, and I don't know if it's just because of, how they had been engaging on LinkedIn, there was an element of like, I don't know if I'm brave enough here. But I did. You were there that day because I did the same thing with you. Yeah. So how I broke the ice with them, I walked up and I said, I'm totally fangirling. It would be like meeting Matthew McConaughey and Brad Pitt. And Greg lost his mind. He's like, who do I get to be? Like, which one am I? And Brian's like, I'm totally Matthew McConaughey. Right. So it was so fun to engage in those guys that way. But that's what that, the forum, really does is I would not have known those guys before and the message and, what they really stand for in the mortgage space. Yeah. And that was what's most meaningful to me is like they all work for independent companies. Brian has his own company, a great product out there, FinLocker, right? Greg has an amazing company, mortgage lending company that he's a part of doing, really good stuff in the market. It wasn't about that, right? It was really about them coming together organically and authentically for the mortgage industry. And, as someone that's entering in year number 34, right? That meant something to me. Right. Yeah. And it still means something to me and to be a part of all of us. So,
well, if you think about it, that is ultimately what we're trying, or what I'm trying to help, everyone else do in their own community, right? Because what happens is the more that you're seen by a person, the more that you're trusted by a person. It's called familiarity bias. It's a real thing. And so what I try to help people do is get as familiar as possible, right? So like if the more you show up, the more familiar you become. And then the more familiar you become, the more that you're trusted. And the more that you're trusted, the more business that you have coming to you.
Love it.
Then let's get after it and let's get your face in front of everybody as often as we can. And that's not only just posting content, it's engaging and DMing and all the stuff, right? But like the same effect that Greg and Brian had on you, it's because they've shown up for so long consistently, and they become like this little micro famous kind of thing, right? On their corner of the internet.
Right. Yeah.
And so do that as a loan officer, as an executive, whatever it is, do that in your community. Go find your audience, then go support them. Don't sell them all the time.
Yeah.
Get in front of them consistently. 6 months, you'll start seeing some pretty cool stuff. You do it for a year, you do it for 2 years, and you'll never have a cold lead ever again.
So good. That's so good. I'm so happy that you were able to come spend a little time with me today. Anything else that someone needs to know about you or things that you're doing? Or
I mean, I would say follow me, connect with me on LinkedIn 100%. And DM me and just say hi.
Yeah.
And so the DMs are an incredible spot to just like ask questions. And so if you have questions about how to get started on LinkedIn, I have a lot of resources, right? Some of them are free, some of them are paid. But I answer questions for free.
I love it.
So just connect and DM me and say hi, and then let's rock and roll.
Mr. Smokoska.
Love it.
I do too. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Good time.
you. Yeah.
Good time.
Look forward to seeing you again soon. Well, we've wrapped up a really great conversation with Dan. If you're interested in following us, please do that on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook. You can also follow Dan on those same profiles as well. We look forward to seeing you at the next episode.